I told the people,
Sorry about that. Yeah.
you're all good.
Hmm.
I was telling people that I didn't want to like go out and drive because uh, I was afraid of, trying to take my turn into turning or going straight or whatever and getting hit by a different car.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the next afternoon, that's exactly what happened at one of the stoplights in town. It wasn't even in the place I usually uh, DoorDash, but it was in town. So I was like, yeah, I'm not comfortable with that. And then it got me out of my rhythm.
Yeah, man.
I'm
Wow.
I'm kind of a, how would I put this, fragile. I don't like, I like to get into patterns and routines,
Yeah.
not
Hmm.
for everything, but right as I got into that pattern,
Hmm.
then did the thing with the stoplights and all that, and we're getting another snowstorm tonight about
Wow.
midnight or 1 a.m. So
Mm.
it's kind of
Wow.
all just been like that, and I don't know if you follow Groundhog's Day. I don't really, but
Yeah.
on
Hmm.
Groundhog's Day it said spring was coming early.
Yeah.
Man,
Hmm.
4 snowstorms in 2 weeks does not sound like
Oh my,
early spring.
that is ridiculous. Oh my goodness, man. Well, are you safe? Are you okay? How are you feeling? Because I'm assuming that you're saying that you got into a car accident.
No, 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 no. I saw somebody else get into a
You
car
saw
accident.
something. Oh, okay, someone else. Okay.
I was thinking of the premonition of doing that, and I brought it into reality. But
Okay.
it
Okay.
didn't happen to me. But I saw it happen to. I didn't see it happen to somebody else, but I
Yeah.
saw like people sitting there, two cars like next to each other crash already. It probably wasn't even that bad, like maybe like 5-10 miles an hour. But
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with that at any speed. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Because then you have to go through all the insurance and
yep.
that's a headache in and of itself, let alone it being an accident, you know?
Sure.
Man. Oh my goodness, man. I'm so glad that you're safe though, man. And it seems as if there's I definitely understand there being a stump with Mother Nature in a sense telling us to, you know, pretty much stay inside and shut up.
Yep.
um, but at the same time, your safety, man, your safety is the first concern. I know you do DoorDash, so I hope it's not too much of an impact on your pocket.
Um, I mean, I guess on the plus side, I've saved a lot of gas and not driving.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the good way to look at it, man. I'm so glad you look at it that way. Like you see things as, what it was and not necessarily what it wasn't, you know. Um, I love that, bro. And I'm so glad that you even hopped on tonight, man. There's actually a few other people I think that wanted to join in. Actually from the live. But I don't think that my phone died at the time, so I wasn't able to really actually relay to them that it was dying. So I'll just start the call now, man, and I'll just try to get them on another day. But um, yeah, man, just tell me about your week, bro. How's everything been with you? I guess of course, because this is our mental health group. Mentally, where are you from a scale to 1 to 10, man, and why?
Uh, I think I'm still doing pretty good. Maybe a 7.
Okay,
Uh, I felt like an 8 or 9 the past month. So
okay,
uh,
perfect.
dip is okay. I mean, it happens. There's going to be good days, bad days, all that.
Okay.
But I think for me, it's I've tried to not let
Hmm.
the thoughts of my mind really take control. Like
Yeah.
like I said in the comment, it's
Hmm.
when that little voice tries to tell you not to do this, not to do that, and keeps you safe. But
Hmm.
the fight or flight fear kind of thing just
Hmm.
isn't isn't always your friend. It's not always there to. It's not always there for. It's not always there for your best interest.
Not at all. Not at all, man. Not at all. And I'm glad that you're at a 7. A 7 is a really good spot to be. I usually consider like a 3 or a 2, more like a hey, I don't want to be here, suicidal, everything of that nature. So to see that you're up there is good, but that voice, that voice can easily get you on either side. You
Yeah,
know that. Hmm.
I've let it control me too many times.
Yeah.
But I think I think just like with a lot of other things that I let happen to me too many times, I wasn't
Hmm.
really aware of it at that point. So becoming aware of the little voice and it not being always in my best interest.
Yeah.
I think knowing that is much more helpful than trying to overcome it without the knowledge of it.
That is so true. That is so true. Trying to, yeah. And I love that, again, you've taken that perspective and fighting back, man. How do you normally get yourself to ignore that voice?
Um, I think I'm still pretty new at it, so
Okay.
uh, I probably I'm probably pretty mean to it. I pretty much
Hmm.
tell it to shut up and f off. I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably not the best way for me to do that to my voice. Um, I've uh, I think just like in a lot of things, if you're too nice,
Yeah.
your own voices they tend to try to overpower you even when you
Hmm.
ask politely.
Hmm.
Hey man, we can't just not do work today. We got to go to work. No, we should stay home. We should stay home. No, now you
Yeah.
shut that. Now you shut the mutt up
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
let me do my thing because you are not benefiting me, and I
Exactly.
can't listen to something that's not going to benefit me.
Hmm. I love that. So in a sense, in essence, even though you have the voice inside of your head talking to you, you in a sense talk back to the voice by talking still to yourself.
I think that's how I've really gotten out of depression too. Whenever my voices would tell me that I'm stupid or worthless or anything
Yep.
else like that,
Hmm.
I'd be like, "Hey, look, I don't think I'm stupid. I don't think I'm worthless, and here's the reason why."
Hmm.
And sometimes the voice comes back with something else. Goes, "Oh, well, what about this?"
Yeah.
I have to have a debate with my own voice just to get it
Hmm.
to agree with me. And
Hmm.
I think the more I've come to do that, the more it's been like, oh, okay, fine. You know what? You're not backing down anymore to what I'm saying. So uh, I think the roles have reversed where I'm telling the voice to back down and it's listening to me.
Exactly. Exactly. So in a sense, you you turn into the bully, or not even, I guess you could say the bully to that voice in your head, and in a sense, you overpower it with your own validation.
Yeah, uh, I'm a stronger force in that voice now. That's for sure.
Yeah. 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 What support groups or what type of support around you do you feel like you have to fight against that voice as well?
Um, I think it's a tough question.
Hmm.
For me, it's like I talked about having a double whammy of depression, and that's I don't know how many people deal with. I guess that doesn't even make sense unless I explain it.
Hmm.
So I've already talked about the narcissism and all that with my parents and whatnot.
Yeah. Hmm.
But I have not mentioned that I also had cancer. So I
Whoa.
had
Yeah.
chemotherapy, and one of the
Wow.
side effects of chemotherapy is depression
Wow. Okay.
and whatnot. So I get
Mm.
depression from the psychological abuse and depression from the side effects of chemotherapy, which uh, I've read into, and it says it could be anywhere from like temporary, so a couple weeks,
Mm.
couple months, couple
Yeah.
years, to permanent. It could be life lasting.
Wow.
So I think for me, it's the more I try to talk to other people and have them understand, the less they understand, and the more I get lost. And it's not like people aren't trying to help me to the best of their abilities and trying to be beneficial to me, but
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
understand that that I don't know anybody that has has been, you know, psychologically abused for as long as I have,
Yeah.
and have to deal with the chemotherapy side effects. So I don't even
Yeah.
the detrimental
Hmm.
effects that it will have on me,
Yeah.
that it's had on me throughout my life, and will
Hmm.
have on me in the future. So
Hmm.
I think, I mean, for me, it's I have to take control of it myself because if nobody else can help me, I have to be able to help myself.
Mm.
And the longer I don't help myself with these situations, the worse it'll become.
Exactly. 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 Have you ever tried therapy, man?
I have already done therapy, yes.
You already done. Okay. I think you mentioned that in our poetry group. How was that? How I guess first off, because I know a lot of people when it comes to therapy, they're just like, man, don't talk to me about therapy. I don't need therapy. A lot of times, even in the Black community, it's like a thing where it's just like a no, you do not say that. Like, it's like, come on now. I think everybody needs it at some point or could use it. So for you particularly, what made you step into being okay with therapy and like actually doing it?
Um, so I was one of those people that said I never want to do therapy.
Oh
That's
wow.
that's a weak that's a
Mm-hmm.
weak mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's you giving up on yourself, doing blah 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 blah. All the excuses. I used them all.
Yeah.
When I when I found that when I realized that doing it myself wasn't enough, and
Mm-hmm.
then I felt like when you're in the woods, you go into the woods, you know where you're going at some point. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
lost in the woods and you're dead center in the woods, you have to guess which way you're going, and it could be the wrong way. You could be going more into the woods,
Mm.
going away from your destination.
Facts. Wow.
I think in my rendition of that, I was finding my way away from the center and staying away from going back to the original spot. But I could only get out so far. So I was like, I know I have issues with having too much pride.
Mm.
So I think it's time for me to swallow my pride and seek out help
Mm.
in whatever way I can. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I actually used BetterHelp.
Oh, BetterHelp. Yeah, yeah, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
that
it's
service. Yeah.
a big business now.
Yep, yep. Big business now. Yep.
When I used it in 2018, I I stumbled upon it on accident.
Wow. How did you got to tell that story, man? You got to tell that story.
I don't remember much of it,
Okay.
so I apologize about that. But
Yeah.
I know, I think I was, I think it was connected to. No, it wasn't that either. This
Mm-hmm.
before. Um, I think I was trying to like find services to do so, and
Mm-hmm.
the whatever I searched up suggested BetterHelp because it talked
Oh,
about counselors and whatnot, and it said if you don't have a lot of money, we can give you a discount and still
wow.
pay, but you'd be able to talk to them. I think I paid $40 a month, so
Nice.
it wasn't bad at all.
Mm-hmm.
Close to bad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I got paired up with, I don't remember her name, but she was such a lovely uh, professional, a great counselor.
Mm.
Um, she would she would at first it was kind of weird because I think the first time I talked to her, and I mean her reaction was probably based on what I told her, but I told her, yeah, I have voices in my head, and
Mm.
it's not like the inner voice. It was voices like invasive voices trying to control my mind.
Yeah.
Uh, so when she said that, she's like, "Oh my, this is above me. You need to see a psychiatrist."
Mm.
I actually haven't done that yet. I definitely need to.
Yeah.
But I talked to her about it. She helped me out through so much. She let me express
Beautiful.
myself, and even after I presented her with a poem that I think in her mind
Mm-hmm.
attacking her because I wrote it in like the very first session I had. She essentially she called me crazy in a professional sense.
She
But
did the lady, the one that you were paired with?
I think it was more of like taken aback because when you're a counselor, you're talking about like issues, but it's not like the issues that a lot of people. Uh,
Go through.
yeah, so
Yeah.
like narcissism is just brand new. Like
Facts.
I guess the coined term of narcissistic personality disorder was coined in 1995.
Mm.
It
Wow.
was, it was still a long time ago, but we are only talking about it like the past year or two.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, like really. So when she said that, I was definitely in an emotional state, so I probably took it too far
Mm.
in my in my in my receiving what she said. But she was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, well, I don't want to." in her mind, it's probably, I don't want to give him the wrong advice because
Mm.
it's above me. I don't want to talk. I don't want to try to give him advice when he has voices in his head because I'm not qualified for that.
Yeah.
So, me and her talked. We talked about some other things that I needed to go through.
Mhm.
I'm still not great with talking to people like in a long form sense. I think I can talk to people pretty normally, but
Yeah.
my social media drops pretty quickly.
Hmm.
So, I think I had her for about 5 or 6 months, maybe a little bit less, but I loved every interaction with her. She was so kind, so polite, so supportive. She would always try to understand everything, and if she didn't, she would ask me to clarify, ask me for this, ask me for that. So
Mm.
I think in return, I also told her, hey, I appreciate all the help you're giving me. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for all the help. I know psychologists and psychiatrists have some of the highest suicide rates
Yeah.
because of the weight they have to carry from
Hmm.
not themselves but from other people.
Yeah.
And maybe
Hmm.
I don't know if counselors are to that same degree, but she's
Hmm.
talking to me about my issues and my problems while also having her own, and she's talking to other people too. So
Mm.
make sure she knew I was appreciative of all her help.
Yeah. That is beautiful, man. That is beautiful. Wait, you just said something important. I mean, something I actually never heard of. Psychiatrists have some of the highest suicide rates.
Yes. So if if I guess how do we put it? A lot of I think a lot of I could be wrong about this. I think
Hmm.
psychology and psychiatry is maybe psychology is probably better for a female.
Yeah. Hmm.
I think it's because they're more emotionally driven, so they can handle the emotions better.
Hmm.
But psychiatry, I just I know in order to be in psychology and psychiatry and really have a passion for it,
Yeah.
I think I think it's because of the way you were brought up.
Yeah.
You know, I,
Hmm.
I wanted to be a psychologist, psychiatrist. I still want to be, but I think
Nice.
I think
Yeah.
it really boils down to I was raised in a home where I was mistreated, and
Hmm.
I don't want people to go through that. And even with all the the baggage I have
Hmm.
on me from that, uh, I know how hard it is to carry that baggage alone, and I don't want other people to have to deal with that. So
Exactly.
I know the downfalls of becoming more suicidal,
Yeah.
um, having to listen to other people's problems so much that you could possibly forget your own.
Yep.
Um,
Hmm.
imposter syndrome.
Imposter
I've,
syndrome. Yep.
I've had to deal with that multiple times, but it's 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 better for me to go through it because I know the ramifications and more of how to get through it
Hmm.
than other people. So like
Yeah.
most of the people that I'd help are you know early early to late teens and early 20s, early to mid 20s. I mean, that's where that's where your body and your mind are still developing and you're not entirely sure what's going on. You're still learning about the world. You're trying to stay as a child but become an adult at the same time. So it's just
Exactly.
a lot of a lot of things to go through.
Hmm. Man, that I'm glad to hear that. You said that you want to be a psychiatrist.
Yeah, psychologist. There's too many people that are psychologists.
Oh,
I,
okay.
I
Yeah.
think that field, or at least when I was in high school,
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
field was everybody wanted to be a psychologist. Everybody wanted to be
Yeah.
this. Everybody wanted to be that. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we want to know how people work and the mind and this and that. Like,
Right.
well, I want to help people. I don't want to I want to understand people. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but I don't want to understand people to my benefit. I want to understand
Yeah.
people to their
Hmm.
benefit.
Hmm. Exactly. Exactly. And I love that, man, because I think that it's people I think that go through trauma, people that go through some of the most horrible things that make the best therapists, the best psychiatrists, the best just doctors, nurses. Oftentimes those people have stories that in some sense feed into their passion or their profession. And I think your background, what you've been through, what you've gone through, can cater significantly to to people who also have had similar experiences, because then they can relate to you. You become in a sense a voice for them. In a sense, they in some sense feed off of what you've gone through and how you've overcome it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one of the biggest problems for wanting to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist
Mm-hmm.
is the times where you can't help, or they say that you aren't helping, or that they blame you for things that obviously aren't your fault. But uh, like me, for example, when
Mm-hmm.
people are expressing their emotions, I almost I can understand their emotions. So if they're, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but like if they're really sad, I can feel that sadness. I might not be able to relate directly to their situation,
Yeah.
but I can
Mm-hmm.
feel the pain in their emotions,
Yep.
feel the happiness in their emotions. I can feel the
Mm-hmm.
disdain, anger, whatever else. I don't know if I told you this story before, but I think it's good to point out that you know I was, I think when I sent myself to the psych ward, I self admitted because it was
Oh
it was
wow.
that bad, and this was after
Mm-hmm.
I talked to the counselor. So
Yeah.
I've been on
Mm-hmm.
antidepressants and other drugs as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but the guy I was talking to, he was talking about his life being in shambles and not being able to get out of the hole he's put himself in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, and I tried to help him. So and at this point I felt pretty invincible. Like, oh yeah, well I've helped people before. I can be a little bit cocky about this. And I was still trying to help him, but I was making jokes along the way because jokes are supposed to be something to relieve the pressure, not add more.
Yeah, exactly.
And at the end of it, he said that he's going to block me. He's going to off himself, and he's going to blame me. So uh, a lot of people don't take the bad times when talking about helping with psychology and psychiatry. There are
Yeah.
people going to
Mm-hmm.
blame. I think helping is the benefit to psychology and psychiatry, but you can't help everybody, and you won't benefit everybody. So when that time comes, I think that's when people are really deep down in their emotions and really contemplating suicide because they they don't understand how they couldn't help. Oh, they've helped so many people before, but it's not
Wow.
100% successful. So
Wow.
people that are the reason why psychology and psychiatry is such a higher suicide rate than most other professions, it's because you care so deeply, and in return you feel so deeply. You
Wow.
get into their psyche, you get into their mind so much. You and just like the imposter syndrome, you almost lose pieces or enough of yourself that you become them, and then that could infiltrate your mind, and you could kill yourself because you uh, feel that so intensely. And I'm sorry if that word is a little bit taboo.
No, no, no. I understand. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. You're exactly right. I had not even thought of that perspective, though. What you just said in terms of how you can feel so deeply invested to the point to where you kind of, in a sense, like you said, lose yourself to feeling as if you felt them. When in fact it's just that it was them that ultimately gave up, but you feel as if you somehow had heavy influence in the sense to where you probably almost killed them yourself.
Yeah, I think it's also like you get that emotion in, or you get that weight on your shoulders as well. But most people in that field are also, like you said, and like we both said, you know, they've had to come up from trauma as well, and to
Yep.
bring up those old wounds and then having new wounds, it's it's hard to it's hard to bear the burden. It really is.
Mm, man, it's hard to bear the burden. Do you think that you can handle that? How do you think that you will prevent yourself, if you pursue, becoming a psychiatrist or therapist or anything of that nature? How do you think you would avoid that for yourself?
Um, I don't think I could ever be 100% certain on that because I don't know what
Yeah.
the holds.
Mm-hmm.
For me, if I'm going to answer that right now, I think it's because I've had to deal with depression uh, on two different fronts. Again with the chemotherapy giving me depression. There are other ones too. I can't remember them. That's the one I remember.
Yeah.
I know another one is like bruising. I get random bruises throughout my body, but
Wow.
the depression one, on top of being psychologically abused, emotionally abused, that's depression on top of your already existing depression. And I think for me, it's uh, I think I've mentioned this one before, but narcissistic personality disorder, one of the effects on the victim is suicidal ideations.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They try to get you to do that because that's the ultimate sacrifice. Offering yourself
Mm.
for your uh, abuser, and that way they can have all the sympathy and all the narcissistic supply they could ever possibly want for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Man.
Now, that topped with the chemotherapy, I think I've also garnered the. I've actually gotten rid of the suicidal ideations in my mind because I knew where it was coming from. It wasn't coming from me.
Yeah.
It was coming from an outside source trying to tell me to do so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And man, some of those stories where you can see people being manipulated to do exactly that is just horrifying. It's terrifying.
Horrifying. Yeah.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I've had to endure a lot more than most people in life,
Yeah.
and I think with as well with others, I've allowed myself to be able to separate myself from their emotions with my emotions because I've spent
Mm-hmm.
a lot of time uh, trying to find myself, trying to find my own emotions, trying to find my own voice, trying to find my own persona because
Yeah.
I've I've never been able to do that. When I lived with my parents, I was an extension of somebody else. I was never my own person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think with the amount of people that I've dealt with, what I've dealt with, at
Mm-hmm.
least in the abuse category, you'll have much better psychologists and psychiatrists with uh, less of a suicide rate because much they know a lot more about how to regulate their emotions and catch those negative thoughts and uh, be proactive about them instead of reactive.
Yeah.
So and again, we also didn't take mental health seriously before COVID,
Yeah.
and we only started taking it seriously at the end of COVID when people were like, "Oh, I need to be around other people," and I get it. Humans are social creatures, and we need to
Mm-hmm.
be around other people to do that. But the people that are suffering in silence, they weren't cared about.
Yeah.
But then when we were like, oh well, we're social creatures, we need therapy, we need to figure out how to not be around people all the time, or however you
Mm-hmm.
word that. And
Mm-hmm.
it just it's I understand that, but I also find it upsetting or sickening because I had to endure all of what I had to endure by myself with little to no support.
Yeah. Yeah. When you say little to no support, man, and again, I know you've stated this before to me, but I did want to kind of just re-ask the question. But when you say that, you're saying like no siblings, no parents, grandparents. Like, well, I know you say your grandma was definitely someone that was pivotal to your poetry writing, things of that nature. But for the most part, though, it was no one that came to any type of aid.
Uh, let's put it this way: when I turned 21, I was
Mm-hmm.
living with my grandparents, and my grandparents lived by a lot of family. A lot of family stayed around them. My family left for my mom had her dream job, and she was offered it out of state, so
Yeah.
that's why we moved. But everybody else pretty much stayed in. uh, Iowa,
Mm.
and my 21st birthday. It's supposed to be exciting. It's supposed to be whatever. You're supposed to go out and have drinks with friends and family and all that stuff. Um, and maybe it's not too significant, but I didn't get asked to go out on my 21st until it was somebody else's birthday in my family.